My name is Steve McCurry. I've been traveling Afghanistan since 1979. I've been following the story in Afghanistan for more than 30 years. It's a story that I keep going back to over and over again. This is a very pivotal time in Afghan history, and we want to follow it and see what this eventual outcome will be, especially after all the foreign troops have left. This selection that I'll be showing at the Beetles Huxley gallery are really a different look at Afghanistan. It's really more, in some ways, a personal history of mine, going back to the beginning and showing some pictures, and often, in some cases, very tough pictures. But it's really ones I think represent my years of working in Afghanistan over the 3 decades. There have been tremendous changes in Afghanistan over the years. At one point, Afghanistan was more inward-looking, very tribal. There was a very distinct Afghan character. And I must say that with the introduction of influences from the neighborhood, international forces coming in, much of that wonderful hospitality and this being able to travel throughout the country on your own without an escort, without a guide, sadly those days are over. I was in a Mujahideen training camp back in the early 80s, and this was a time when all young Afghan men were being mobilized to sort of defend their country against the Soviet Union, which had decided to support various left-leaning governments there in Kabul. Afghans got lots of support from neighboring countries, lots of arms, and they had a full-on recruitment program where they recruited tens of thousands of young Afghans. I was actually invited to the camp by the Mujahideen, and they wanted the world to know what was happening and how they were training and how they were going to defend their country. So this was they were very open and willing to have the world see what was happening. I met this young boy in a village in Nuristan up in northeast Afghanistan. You know, all young boys aspire to get a gun and go fight the government. This was something which everybody wanted to participate in. If they didn't have a real gun, they would make one out of wood, and they would train, with that toy gun. Well, the biggest challenge in taking photographs in Afghanistan is staying alive. It's a very dangerous place, and I suspect that it'll continue to get more and more dangerous to the point where it'll be just impossible to travel there as a foreigner. Over the years, I've made many friends in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, a lot of these people that I've worked with over the years have either been killed or in some cases have had to flee to India or Pakistan or Europe as refugees. So many of the people who I was the closest to are no longer there. But Afghans have a great sense of humor. They're very hospitable. They're great to be around. I always look forward to going back and seeing these old friends. This picture of the Shia mourning the martyrdom of Imam Hussein was something that takes place every year during the month of Muharram. This is something they do very willingly, and they're very open to talk about it. They invited me in. They were very hospitable. They were more than willing to be photographed. Well, all opium grown in Afghanistan is essentially made for export, and often these are family plots. These young children, no doubt, were part of the family business, and they were out harvesting the opium the way other children may graze goats or sheep or work in the field on some levels. There are many burqa shops in Afghanistan and in Kabul in particular. During a wedding or some kind of a celebration women will wear a different color burqa than the traditional blue or black. So this was a woman in a shop who had tried it on. She was with her friends, and I just happened to be there and made that picture. In some ways, Afghanistan is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. It has a very rugged terrain, beautiful mountains. It's a place that really is quite romantic in its ruggedness, and it's often very kind of forbidden.